Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Mohonda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown!
Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got it!
Another one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finney, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, heard on great stations, 97.7 ESPN, The Ref at Evansville, WBRO in Marengo, and around the world on YouTube, where you should go right now to subscribe and make sure you hit that like button so you can always follow us no matter where we are, such as places like Minneapolis, Minnesota for the 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days. We're brought to you by our good friends at AndyMoore.com, Andy Moore Honda, where you can always get the best deals on new and used vehicles, and Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club. Be sure to go to your Apple app or Google App stores, sign up for the Wow Club, start earning Wow rewards today. The great places like BB's Market, where we'll be live from there on Friday. Boy, we're a mobile show, but BB's has the greatest meats around, in-house products, full-size bakery, much more. Join us live there each and every Friday. Of course, I'm Jim Coyle, my co-host, Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com. Looking forward to bringing you another outstanding show as we're here at day 2 of the 2022 Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Days, as I said yesterday. Indiana, Purdue, and the likes. Also, hey, we have a one-on-one exclusive with Mike Woodson today for you. So, I'm gonna look at that. I can get right there. Does that look that's like
professional setting,
folks?
That's right.
Hello. If you could see us, but looking forward to another great lineup yesterday. What an incredible array we had with, of course, regular Mike DeCourcy, but he was here with us, of course, as BTN analyst. Stephen Bardo, he's been on with us before, but happened to catch Stephen walking by, so that was an unplanned benefit. Then, of course, we got to talk to Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson. And today we're bringing you a one-on-one with Mike Woodson, as we are the only Indiana media in attendance of the Big Ten Media Days, along with one other, Keegan Nicholson, of course, from the Hoosier.com. The only representation. I say that proudly that we're here to do that, but also that's been an issue. It's been an issue that was brought up by Jeff Goodman sent out a tweet yesterday about it, and there was just tons of responses. There's very little media showing here. The media that is here is local media that will not be covering the Big Ten. And truthfully, it doesn't really benefit the Big Ten. I don't think this town knows the Big Ten Media Days are here. And the people of Minnesota are wonderful. This has nothing to do with the people of Minnesota or the state. The weather was fabulous yesterday and was nice this morning. But this was just an absolutely F in location, and the venue it's not that it's a bad venue, it's just not the right venue. It's a little small, and if the Big Ten is intent on taking this around, which it sounds like they are, and as more teams come into the conference, we've already added UCLA and USC out of the West Coast, pretty likely that there's going to be a Seattle, potentially Portland connection up there for those TV markets, because that's what it's all about. As we talked about with Stephen Bartle yesterday, you got the Los Angeles TV market now. You've got the Chicago TV market now. You have the New York TV market with Rutgers. You have the Washington TV market with Maryland. And And someone mentioned, we talked about this before, Miami, which, boy, oh boy, that would be a great get for the Big Ten to just completely surround the SEC. But I don't see the SEC allowing that. But anyway, I think that they're going to need to add a couple of teams from the West Coast, because you can't have UCLA and USC out on an island as they are right now. But I digress. It gets back to moving this around. It's, parts of it, it's being selfish. It's much more convenient for me personally and for a lot of us. But guess what? Indiana has the biggest media contingent in the Big Ten, bar none. So, well, you've cut off your biggest media contingent. Is that to your benefit? I don't think so. Your Chicago, Indianapolis, even their local media, when they cover, you're getting great benefit out of that. You're not getting that here. Chicago stations, they're not here. Indy stations, they're not here. You're getting zip. You have basically, I think, given up 75% of what you would normally get, in my mind, personally. Bad call.
Right. Well, I mean, think about how many
long did I go there? That was a soliloquy.
That
like
that
6 minutes. Gee
yeah,
whiz!
I was just letting you ride off into the sunset with that one.
Better have a drink.
The thing about where the location this time, and I'm not there obviously, but you got to remember this is the heart of the college football season. People got to make travel plans for that. It's the heart of the NFL season. A lot of people cover multiple sports. Bob Kravitz is one who covers the Pacers, the Colts, the Indiana, Purdue. It's more convenient for him when this stuff is in Chicago and Indianapolis. And most of the schools, most of the teams, it's way easier to get to Chicago or Indianapolis than it is to Minnesota. And with this being televised and everybody having their own individualized media day, you could just attend that and watch this part on TV. So that's that. And we got dogs barking in the background here that are apparently upset about it too. But that to me is why you have to have this stuff a little bit more centrally located. The Big Ten tournament, people aren't going to like this, but you're going to be able to draw a crowd wherever that's at pretty much, I think. Media days, not that big of a deal, especially during the basketball season. These things are only 15 minutes long, and then you go to your breakout sessions. It was not a good call.
Just no, and again, there's more to it than just that. It's all right. I believe I am the only radio show here, the only. At football media days that we just had, I was one of a dozen.
Yeah.
A dozen, at least. Also, we're but further away from what's going on in there. I don't like that because you can't see what's going on. I mean, I can look up on the TV, but it's in there. So, I mean, we're basically in the media workroom is what this is. And it's not like I'm saying it to sound like, oh, well, you need to be. No, it's access. It's to be able to bring best content to promote this event as best possible.
Right.
But if you want me to complain about first world problems, even things like lunch, which people say, well, you should be lucky they're feeding you. Well, they're feeding us to keep us here because we're working all damn day. We can't go anywhere else to eat.
Right.
But lunch was a quagmire. They had one poor lady doing it all. There was never any plates. Then there was never any napkins. Then there was never any utensils. Then they were running out of food. It was just one thing after another. And it was like, wow, did you guys not know this was coming? I mean, because literally, it seems like it. Like I said yesterday, they were still putting down electric outlets when I arrived yesterday. It's like someone just told them the night before, hey, the Big Ten Media Days is going to be here tomorrow. Maybe we should start getting ready for that. Yeah, we'll start in the morning.
Yeah, that's bizarre to me. I mean, you walk into Lucas Oil Stadium, everything's up and ready to go. It's very smooth because those guys have done it before. And I don't know, like I mean, clearly Minnesota, the Target
and I'm
Center
not blaming
had
this on
interest.
Minnesota.
No. Clearly the Target Center had interest in hosting this. Otherwise, they would have just declined.
Well, apparently Detroit begged, borrowed, and stole to try to get this event and didn't get it.
See,
and that would have been 10 times better.
Right.
But I think that there's one thing, and I don't really get in trouble, but the current commissioner of the Big Ten is not from Detroit. He's not from Michigan.
Right.
He happens to be from Minnesota.
Yep. That's 100% what it is.
And this, I truly think this was a personal thing. And it's flopped. It's a gigantic flop. Probably doesn't care, but
probably not.
It's a flop. I mean, like I said, I was looking around at the media just kind of laughing. I'm looking at name tags. I'm like, where are they from? They're just from just they've lost a lot. But oh well, we've got lots more good stuff to talk about there. Looking forward to talking to Tom Izzo today. He's always fun. Matt Painter. Daggone it. Did we get anything of him uploaded, John?
Of Matt Painter?
Yeah.
I can go back and look, but I do not think so.
I should have if I didn't. He's always great at these. Him, Tom Izzo, and Mike Woodson. They're kind of like the Jim Harbaughs of Big Ten media, football media days.
Yeah.
Bring it down and get those lights in there. Because they're all Mike's gonna say whatever he thinks in a cool, relaxed way. Tom Izzo is going to tell you the truth because he can. And Matt Painter has been around this league long enough and is just educated on it. And he was talking about it yesterday, I think, with NIL. And he says, "Hey, I don't have a problem with people playing basketball and having a better life." He goes, "But I don't want them doing this to play basketball to score 4 more points a game."
Right.
But yeah, we'll hear from that. We're also, like I said, Bob Kravitz is with us today. Looking forward to that. Rick Bozich, Kyle Nedrip, and very special one-on-one with Indiana basketball coach Mike Woodson, exclusive here on Indiana Sports Beat. Nobody else from the IU Media. So
and Kyle will join us tomorrow, just to clarify. We moved.
Oh, him. Perfect. So yeah, moved him for the big man. For Mike Woodson. Right. All right. Appreciate everybody jumping on already. Looking over here on the Andy Moore Honda hotline before we go to break. Hello, Dwayne. How are you, man? Appreciate you joining us. Mike, Rudy, the boxer, Travis, 5 Lefts is on already. Jennifer. Let's see. Another. Yep. I'll let her say it. Michael, the music man. Larry, how are you, sir? Tanis. Jason, great start to his playoffs for the Yankees. Got a win.
Yep.
1 win closer to a World Series. Oh, were they up 2-0 or something already?
No. They yesterday was the first day for all the.
Oh, I was going to say,
yeah. So it's 1-0. Yep.
Forrest, how are you? He had a great weekend. I saw the certificate he got for I think 50 years. Was it for? Being an I-man, congratulations on that. My man Pete, hope you're feeling good. Sounds like the Big Ten management didn't do their job too well. They've had 2 Super Bowls and 1 other major event, so he would blame the Big Ten staff. Not going to disagree. I mean, I can't. Like I said, I'm not blaming the people of Minnesota, and I'm not blaming the state, and not blaming the poor one lady they had working lunch yesterday. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. Wyatt,
that's pretty bizarre.
As much as he dislikes Purdue, he loved listening to Matt Painter talk. I'll tell you, I say that all the time. Here's the thing: it's so funny. I like Matt Painter. I know and like Jeff Brom. I mean, they're good guys. They're good coaches.
Yep.
I didn't know Gene Cady. Had I, probably still wouldn't have liked him. He was one of those gruff SOBs back then. But afterwards, they changed. Like, we got to go to break. When I was in high school, our basketball coach was Joe Hinton. Very, very, very well known and successful in Southern Indiana. Coached at Floyd Central, 2 Final Fours, won over 500 games. Was just like Bob Knight on the floor. The guy was just fiery, but it was because he was so competitive. I mean, it was all about competing, and it's off the floor, totally different. Just not like Bob Knight at all. Total good dude all the way around. It was just so funny. How many technicals does it take to get kicked out of a basketball game?
2.
I'm sure he owns this record, but he once collected
5
in a game, baby. That's when I can't recall. I think he was still coaching at Floyd against Providence because he actually, I think, went to Providence afterwards. But anyway, we got to take a break. We got lots more coming up. The man, Bob Kravitz, is joining us. Looking forward to that. We're live from the Target Center here in Minneapolis, Minnesota for the 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days, brought to you by our good friends at BB's Market, where we'll be live on Friday. Come out and join us. I'm going to be worn out from the travel. They're going to have to prop me up with some great protein food then. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're a business.
If for some reason we don't get Bob here, I'll look. Dustin sent me the link to Matt Painter. Oh, well, never mind. This is irrelevant now because he's here.
I do want to play it though.
I'll look forward and we'll play it later. Morning, Bob. Roberts.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Just
peachy.
Peachy.
Guess what? Jim's the only live radio show in Minneapolis for Big Ten Media Days.
Well, if they put it on the dark side of the moon, that's going to happen.
I am the only media representative from IU, save one other, who is my employee.
Really? You mean there's nobody up there for the Star?
No.
There's none of the Daily Hoosier or any of the websites? None of them are here or there.
That's insane.
Yeah, they got to do something about that. I mean, I know Minneapolis is a great town. I love Minneapolis, but let's think central location.
This was a personal deal.
Or was it?
I think.
I don't know the story.
Well, Kevin Warren's from Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
The media that is here, Bob, they're all like Minnesota, mostly, that is not going to be covering the Big Ten.
Okay.
This is probably the only time
I saw Goodman had a tweet saying that the coaches were pissed because A, Minnesota is far away, and B, there's nobody there.
There's not. And the setup, I can't, like, it's in there. I want to be out there. There's no Radio Row. Well, I guess there's no Radio Row because there's no flipping radio shows.
Radio Row is your table.
I have created a Radio Row.
Radio table.
Is that a better picture? I know it's a picture of me, but is that okay?
Bob, it could not get any better.
That's right.
If it was any better, you'd be twins.
That's scary.
All right. Here we go.
Find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Jim Coyle here from the Target Center in Minneapolis, site of 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days. Dustin Schutte with me as always, and we're joined by the incomparable Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. How are you, sir?
You forgot to say massively good looking as well.
Well, I thought that went without saying.
That went without saying? Okay. I'll accept as an answer.
I thought that was just an assumption that everyone just made.
Yeah. And for good reason.
Of course. Yeah, I'm up here celebrating largely by myself.
Whose idea was it to put this thing in Minnesota, for God's sake?
Here's the working media room.
Well, that looks appropriate.
Can you see all the busy folks?
Yes.
They are. Look at those fingers flying, man. Oh, I see a feature about Trace Jackson Davis.
Stories are just flying off of the
Seriously, why? I mean, it's always been in Chicago or in Indianapolis. What the hell are we doing in Minnesota?
All I can guess was this was a personal choice by the commissioner who is from here.
Oh, okay. All right.
But as I said earlier, it's really backfired on the Big Ten because
Big time.
They've lost the media that covers them, that gives them the coverage. Now they're still getting coverage, like the Stars is not here, but they're covering off of. It's kind of a COVID. I think people are treating it like a COVID.
Yeah, but there's no Zoom, is there?
No, well, no, you just get the broadcast.
The broadcast. It's pathetic, and I'm sure there's a really wonderful reason why you're all up in Minnesota right now. Dinkytown's a pretty cool area up in Minnesota, but for crying out loud, I
was there by accident last night.
What's that?
I ended up there by accident last night.
Yeah, sure.
I was looking for a cigar bar. That's another thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk bad about Minneapolis, but
he's going to.
I'm thinking Mayberry. Everything seems to close at 10 p.m.
Really?
I was like, are you serious, man? I just wanted to smoke a cigar, relax.
With all your friends from the Big Ten?
Oh, yeah. All of, the media contingent. We were looking for.
It makes no sense. I mean, do it in Indy, do it in Chicago. It's centrally located. It's easy to get to. I know that Jeff Goodman had a tweet that a lot of the players and coaches were pissed off that this thing was in Minnesota because most of them had to get on a flight to get there, and then they got there and there's nobody there. This is the new age of the media. If we don't have to spend money to travel, we're not going to travel. Believe me, I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull that tweet up to see how many, because the comments were just innumerable. He was drawing a ton of comments on it, but I'll have to find that later. But yeah. What's up next with you? I didn't get your piece pulled up this morning, but I think the last piece you had out was about the Colts quarterback situation.
Well, I had two
time to stop pussyfooting around and.
No, let's see. I had two on Friday. I had the McAfee piece.
Yeah.
You haven't read that one, so thanks. And
buddy, I've been on the road nonstop.
I know. Even to the dark side of the moon. You got to get sled dogs to get up to Minnesota. It takes a while. And I wrote after the Colts game on Thursday that it was a symphony of decrepitude. Or of crappiness or something, and it was one of the worst offensive football games I have ever seen. And I honestly don't know how much longer they can keep going with Matt Ryan.
And what's their next step? I mean, I know you've got.
You say the hell with it. You give Sam Ehlinger a shot at it.
Wow.
And then, but either way, I don't care if he goes 8-0. And gets into the Super Bowl. either way, this has got to be the year that you stop kicking the can down the road. I realize that Matt Ryan has a 2-year deal, but his buyout is not that overwhelming. They have got to use this draft to get Will Levis or C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young or Hendon Hooker or whoever happens to rise to the top of the quarterback the quarterback list.
You know what's crazy to me?
Quarterbacks, Dustin, seem to be ruling. We've talked about this a lot late. Justin Fields, whomever it is, and Bob just mentioned another in this line, but it's time for the Colts to get on that train, man.
Yeah, good.
I was just gonna say it's crazy to me because the Colts for so long had the most stable quarterback room you could imagine with Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, and now I've seen all kinds of comments on social media, memes, all that stuff that basically this is where veteran quarterbacks now go to die. Now that's a little bit extreme, but you go from Andrew Luck, Carson Wentz, or Phillip Rivers, and then Matt Ryan. So it seems like they're just trying to piecemeal it together.
Right, they are.
And now
they've been doing that
ever
plunge. Since Luck. They've been doing that ever since Luck left, Bob.
Right.
And honestly, I don't blame them because they felt like they had a decent team. That if they just had decent quarterbacking, they could be a player in the AFC South. And they had that with Phillip Rivers. He got off to a slow start, but he got them to the playoffs, and they probably should have beaten Buffalo in the playoffs that year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I forget. But I'm telling you what, I'm watching Matt Ryan, and I'm getting some serious Kerry Collins vibes.
Oof.
Wow.
Oof. That's an oof right there.
Yeah.
I mean, how
he has no time to throw. I give him all that. He's been under siege. Doesn't have a great receiving core. I don't know the stats as far as how much space they're making for themselves, how much separation. But even when he has time, really bad things happen. And I think being under siege the way he is, it's freaked him out. He's got happy feet. He's not the quarterback he once was, that's for sure. And even if he has a nice second half of the year, it's clear that the first-round draft pick of the Indianapolis Colts next year has got to be a quarterback.
Well, Bob, I talked to your wife, and she said you're the man. You're not the man you used to be.
What?
Man, that was
Muhammad
Ali, man. When Howard Cosell said that was the question he asked me, he said, Muhammad, it's many questions that you're not the man you were 2 years ago. 5 years ago. How would I talk to your wife? And she said, you're not the man you were 2 years ago. You set me up for it, but no.
I set you up, and I'm sure it sounded great in your head.
Yeah, it looked good on paper. It looked good on that quick note of that Post-it note in your brain.
Well, and one of the things that I'm concerned of with the Colts too, Bob, is I think their defense is pretty good, but the frequency that they have to be on the field, that's not going to last an entire 17-game season.
No.
So if they don't find something offensively, I mean, this thing could go off the rails pretty quickly. I mean, you got Jacksonville and Tennessee these next 2 games. Those are 2 division opponents. You've already lost to both of them. You've desperately got to win if you're trying to carve yourself out as a playoff contender these next 2 games.
Well, the good thing is that the AFC South is the gift that keeps on giving. And
that's true.
I think that if the Colts were in a division where they're already 3 out, I think we might be seeing Sam Ehlinger right now. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they're still a contender in a bad division, and look, the Tennessee barely beat the Carson Wentz's Commanders last week. They got down to the 1 or 2 yard line, and Wentz throws an interception, which is shocking, I tell you. And it's the division is there for the taking. So, they might as well stick with Ryan, hope the running game gets going. We'll find out today if Jonathan Taylor has a chance to play, but it's an unholy mess right now. And clearly, I think they're being forced. And I think they were going in this direction anyway. I think they were looking at this coming year, as their year to jump into the quarterback deep end of the pool.
And so I would shift. Go ahead, Jim.
No, continue.
Okay, I was going to say I wanted to shift gears a little bit because the Colts talk is very depressing and it's very difficult to watch.
Oh, you want to talk Pacers?
I was going to talk Pacers because they're a little bit more, at least in the couple preseason games, maybe not exactly what you want to see, but I think there's hope and optimism there. I've been impressed, particularly how they played in Charlotte. I'm looking forward to, I think there's going to be a lot of highs and a lot of really, really deep lows because this team is so young. They're still learning to play together, obviously. What have you seen from the Pacers through these first couple preseason games? They got another one tonight again against the Knicks.
Yeah,
it looks like the athleticism's there. Defense looks like it's a little bit better. But it's obviously going to be some growing pains.
Well, look, the idea is to get incremental improvement among your young players. See who might be the core moving forward. Who that might be. They're not going to win 22 games, and I think they will be one of 3 teams that will have a 14% chance of getting Victor Wembanyama. And I'm writing a column about this tonight. Unfortunately, my colleague wrote about it this morning, but too bad. Not colleague, but my competitor, sort of, kind of. Of all the years to suck, this is a great year to suck. And it's not a one-man draft. I mean, you got Scoot Henderson at 2. We've talked with Kevin Pritchard, and he seems to think that there are between 7 and 8 guys who are real franchise changers at the top of the draft. Wow. Obviously, Wembanyama he's like Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Garnett on steroids or something. Nothing literal on steroids, but they say he's not a freak or a unicorn. He's an alien. He's a 7'4", 7'5" guy. Like, we're talking Samson type size, who can pull up from 3 and drain a 3. I mean, this guy's got everything. Can you imagine Indiana with Wembanyama next year?
I know.
One thing I'm gonna write, and I'm just sort of, this is my column. I'm just sort of speaking it out. But if any team has the right to tank, it's the Indiana Pacers.
I agree.
For 20, 30 years, they have studiously avoided tanking. They have always, because of their owner, they have always tried to put the best product they possibly could on the floor. And usually that meant, barely making the playoffs. They're always good enough to make the playoffs and bad enough, but not quite bad enough to get that top draft pick. This year, they will suck, and it will be glorious because they have a chance to go get Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson or, but I mean, primarily those 2 guys. Those are franchise changers. I saw somewhere that the team that lands Wembanyama will immediately be worth, I think, either $30 or $300 million more than they were before they got him. So, I mean, this, it's going to be a bad team, but it's going to be a team that's going to play hard. It's going to have young legs. It's going to be athletic. They're going to lose a lot of close games because they don't know how to win yet. But that's okay. And I think this city is prepared. I think do too. They are prepared for a complete rebuild.
Well, they'll have Indiana hopefully to buffer that a little bit on the men's side, and Purdue should be. It should be a good college basketball, a fun college basketball season.
Well,
Purdue and Indiana should be good.
Should be good. I read my friend Brendan Quinn's piece.
Yeah, I did too. Good piece.
I think he picked Indiana 3rd or 4th or something.
3rd. I think he picked him 3rd, which you know what? I've said it all. You can actually, I think you can add Purdue into that mix as well.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not sure you can't keep that you can keep Michigan State out of it.
Right.
But those 4 for sure. I don't know who's going to win the Big Ten. It's going to be a grind.
think about it. The IU team is essentially, at least among the returning players, it's the same team as last year, and it's the same team that barely made the NCAA tournament, had to play in a playing game against Wyoming and Dayton. So now, will Hood Schifino
I think he's going to make a huge difference.
I think he will. I mean, based on apparently at the pro day, the scouts are saying that the one guy who's most pro ready is Schifino, right? Hood Schifino.
Which is not good news for Indiana fans because
he'll be gone.
That could shorten his stay in Bloomington.
Yeah, well, who cares? If he gives him 1 or 2 great years, then
better than zero.
Better than zero. So I think there are a lot of teams that have a lot of question marks at the top of the Big Ten. I'm not sure how many super teams there are, but clearly Indiana is in the mix.
Absolutely. I want to talk about your piece on Pat McAfee. Normally I would not talk about somebody else that has a show, but he's just kind of different. He does not. There is not a category that you could really put him in. He's just a funny dude. That's it. He's just a funny dude who's self-deprecating, has the experience, the background, and the onions to do whatever.
He does. I mean, I remember when we talked, and he was going to retire from football. We talked about 2 weeks before his actual announcement on Barstool's Super Bowl show. And it was obviously embargoed until he made that announcement. And we were just talking, and he said, "Do you think I'm crazy?" I said, "Yes, I do." To me, go spend two more years, make about $6-7 million punting a football, and the media is going to be there. But he wanted out so bad. He wanted what he called his mental freedom, and he found his joy in comedy, found his joy in performing. I don't think he found the same kind of joy in punting pigs, pigskins up in the air. And
I was like, what?
Right. So I have a great deal of admiration for Pat. He's got big onions, like you said. He's not afraid to try anything and everything. I just thought his creation story was interesting.
That's what I want to get to. I can sum it up in 5 words: Broad Ripple Canal, Bob and Tom.
Right. That's how it all started. I mean, he went.
I had no idea. I knew he used to be on Bob and Tom because I would hear him, I would listen to him, but I didn't even, because I wasn't around, I guess. I didn't know about the Broad Ripple Canal deal. I've never seen the photo. I'll have to look it up.
Oh, hysterical.
But the fact that he's able to embrace that and be embraced. He starts every day saying, "Hello, beautiful people." What a great catchphrase.
Well, when he went in the canal, instead of running from it, he immediately called the media over, and I'm telling you, he was distraught, and he apologized profusely. And then you know what he did? He made fun of himself. And to me, if you get in trouble or you do something really stupid, what better way to handle it than just come up with your own, Broad Ripple Canal swim team T-shirts like Pat. Pat actually made money off of it because he sold, the Pat McAfee swim team or whatever it was.
And I don't want to go. You need to go to Bob's story to read the whole story at The Athletic. But Pat had a fun night and ended up immersing himself into the Broad Ripple Canal, which is a beautiful waterway through a beautiful part of Indianapolis, right?
Oh,
is that how you would describe it?
Yes. That's it's amazing he didn't get tetanus.
I was going to say, I'm sure he had to get a lot of shots when he came out.
You know the story. The cops, came to him and said, "Sir, you're soaking wet. What's the deal?" And he said, "Well, it's been raining." Well, Indy, they took this out of my column. They said that people already knew this story, but he said, "Well, it's raining, and Indy had been going through a drought for like 2 months. Where's your shirt, sir? It's in the canal. Have you been drinking? I said, well, I'm awfully drunk, so I would have to say yes. I mean, the guy was hysterical even after about 1,000 drinks.
Oh my God!
It was a horrifying experience for him, but I think it's the thing that led him to Bob and Tom, and from Bob and Tom, everything else sprung from there. And it's a lot of people gave him opportunities, but I'm telling you, he seized those opportunities. And unlike a lot of athletes who do these media shows and they show up just mouthing tired platitudes, he was really funny. I mean, he really tried hard to make those shows special. He would come up with idea after idea after idea for the Star Show, for the WTHR show, and he was he was spectacular. I mean, you could tell that he was going places. Did he be where he is now? No.
Well, he's because he is the perfect. I hate to see Lee Corso is making his exit, but he's been on there for a long time and was hilarious. He was a funny dude. Love the fact we got all these Indiana connections. Lee Corso's out, Pat McAfee's going to be in, but he's going to take that to another level. They're going to have to hold him down because man, he's just a funny guy. But Bob Kavoyan is another guy that. He retired from the Bob and Tom show. What? It's been 3, 4 years, 5 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
And it's the show's still going, but did he just want to? Just tired of it? Tired of getting up early?
I honestly don't know the whole Bob Kavoyan story, so I'm not going to BS you and tell you I do. I think Tom Griswold went off and did something else, and I don't know. That's
I see. I didn't know that.
That's the long and short of the answer is I don't know. I'm not sure what happened. I know Griswold. Kavoyan plays a lot of golf and does a lot of really cool trips with his cool wife, Becky. But I don't know exactly what he's doing now. So I apologize.
You know what? We'd love to have to try to get him on here. So maybe you can connect him with an appearance with you on here one day.
Sure,
that would be great. He's a funny guy. But he's funny too because he's just a down-to-earth funny guy, and I think that's why him and Pat McAfee probably worked so well together.
Yeah, and they were neighbors too, so they would go over each other's houses and just work on comedy and work on skits and ideas and things like that. And you see the result.
And your favorite actress, Angela Lansbury, passed away yesterday. So
that's what I understand. She was 96. There is no way I last till 96.
I think that I will just out of punishment.
Just to bother the people you love?
No, I think I'm going to be punished. No, you got to stick around. Won't be sitting here, won't be able to do anything, but I'll still be here. Hopefully not. Yeah. What's up next for you, man? You've been cranking out some great content as always.
Thanks. I have a piece. It's going October 20th or before it's been 4 years since the Tyler Trent game up at Woodson. And I realize it's not 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or whatever. It's just 4 years. But I just thought it'd be interesting to go on October 20th to go through that day. And I went and I talked with Tom Rinaldi, who did the great piece for you.
Oh, yeah.
Great guy. I talked to the Trent family. I talked to David Blau, who was the quarterback for Purdue that night. So that piece should be running right around the 20th. And I'm writing something tonight on embracing the suck. If you're an Indiana Pacers fan, embrace the suck. Run with the suck. They're going to be bad, and it's going to be glorious.
Hey, make sure you give Bob a follow if you're not already. You're missing out on a lot. Subscribe to The Athletic. I am. Subscriber, great content there, whether it's for the Pacers, the Colts, or the Hoosiers. Great stuff. Bob, cannot tell you how much we appreciate. Oh, well, John, you're supposed to pop that picture up. Had a great picture yesterday. Look at this. Check this out.
Oh,
how about that jacket on Trace Jackson Davis.
I like it. Who's in the middle? I can't see.
It makes me look like some short dude, man.
Oh, that's you?
That's me.
I can't see. It's
At 6'1", they look like I'm like 5'1".
Well, they showed a guy who's 6 foot something next to Wembanyama, and he looked like a Lilliputian.
I did see that photo.
Just yesterday, Dustin, up on the dais, the little breakout dais, Zach Edey.
Oh gosh!
I just walked up because I just wanted to. It's like standing next to a professional wrestler.
Well, can you imagine that Zach Edey used to be a hell of a hockey player? Now, I mean, I was a hockey player myself.
Oh my God!
If he's coming down the left wing at 7 foot whatever on skates,
I'm out of the way.
I am getting popcorn. I'm getting out of the net.
I'm waving him right on through, buddy. I'm like, you're playing right through. He is just a big human. Yesterday, someone asked Mike Woodson on one of the breakouts, and we'll have this for you. Who is the toughest player in the Big Ten to prepare for? And he said, I'd have to say that big guy at Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
And the follow-up question was why? Because he's 20 foot tall. Race Thompson is going to have a job on his hands. You've got to keep him out of the paint, man. You cannot.
He's automatic. What will be interesting with me is, for years, Zach has traded, his shared time up front. When this year he's going to have to go bigger minutes. Is he capable of producing the way he's produced, which has been an extraordinarily high level? Can he produce playing bigger minutes? So, Purdue's always good. I mean, you never have to. I mean, Purdue's going to be a top 3, top 5 team. They always are.
They've got a solid roster, man. I mean, they've got a lot of good players. 80% are from the state of Indiana.
What do you know?
Shocker. Got golf plans this week?
I played yesterday, shot a solid 87, and I've been in the 80s for a month now, and I don't know why. It just happened. And I'm playing sometime tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And see, the way I work is I work around my tee times.
That's great.
So, I know that I've got a 1 o'clock tee time, so I'll wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'll write all morning. And I'll put in 4, 5, 6 hours, and then I'll play golf.
Yes, I often split things up. Days end up long, but you were able to manage it as you can. Well, brother, I look forward to it next week, and have a great weekend. What's prediction on the Colts this week?
Oh, my prediction on the Colts. I think they'll somehow beat Jacksonville by 3 in another uninspiring game. 20-17.
Boy, how bad would it be to lose to Jacksonville again?
Well, let me tell you.
Although Jacksonville is
they're pretty
not
good.
Jacksonville, you're not your brothers, Jacksonville.
Here's the game that could change everything. Okay, they play Washington and the Fighting Carson Wentzes in 3 weeks. If they lose to the Fighting Carson Wentzes at home, I think there's going to be some serious changes, whether that's quarterback, coach, both, everybody. Something's going to happen. They cannot lose to the Fighting Carson Wentzes.
How pissed off is Jim Irsay right now?
Not happy.
Yeah.
His team, he does not like to be laughed at, and his team laughed at.
He made a point before this season. I mean, he was pissed before the season started.
Yeah. I think he's tired, like the fan base is tired of this mix and match, put together your quarterback situation with super glue and tape, and it just isn't working. And again, I get some serious Kerry Collins vibes from Mr. Ryan. I hope he turns it around. He seems like a real fine guy, but boy, there's nothing there. I just don't see it yet.
Bob Kravitz, The Athletic,
What was
Make sure you
that?
got them both. What's that?
Nothing.
Just Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Make sure you give him a follow.
Please
Thank
do.
you, brother.
Thank you,
I
buddy.
appreciate you. As always, look forward to seeing you soon.
Dustin.
See ya.
Bob Kravitz, the great one here from The Athletic, joining us as always. Brought to you by GoTeen. We're at the 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days at the Target Center in Minneapolis. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's
All right, quick little timing update. So what we're going to do here is we'll go for about 7 or 8 minutes, break again, and then the following segment, we'll run Mike Woodson. And during this upcoming segment, you can go ahead and do Matt Painter if you'd like. I've already got that uploaded for us if you want to use that.
Oh, awesome.
And that's about a little over 2-minute clip. I didn't realize how long of an answer he gave you, but that's how.
Oh, and I'll tell you one, Brad Underwood.
We'll look at that for later. Yes, I saw that too, but I don't have it yet.
Yeah, that's a good one because, man, he answered. I mean, he answered. He used my name too. That was wild.
Become a theme.
The only name mentioned when I went in that breakout, and when he answered me, I'm like, all right. Mike Woodson did that the other day at Assembly Hall. I was the only name that he responded to. That blew my mind. So, all right. So it's, at least my computer's on the same time. All right, so screw it. I needed to walk in there real quick to see what's going on. I'm gonna try to hurry back.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, I need another vacation.
I always need vacation. That's the worst.
At least it's already Wednesday, man.
I know. I just took a couple days of vacation, and I'm already like, I mean, it's not like it's difficult, but it's always like, it's so nice to just not have to do anything.
Well, I just hate these days where I get up, I do this, I go to my job, and I come straight home and we record. And I'm essentially working for over 12 hours, even though some of that I'm not getting paid for. You know what I mean? Like drive time in the podcast.
Right. Same.
It is so exhausting.
Same here.
15 seconds. We'll see if Jim makes it back on time.
Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I believe I saw Jim pop into the camera. Yeah, that's right. He's still with us.
Yeah, you did. I'm here. I was just out chasing down our next guest, or not our next live guest when we get him on. I think we're going to have Robbie Hummel join us. In addition to Mike Woodson, we're going to hear from Brad Underwood, Matt Painter. We're filling it all up in here for you guys.
There we go. All kinds of Big Ten content from the only Big Ten media, only live radio show.
That's what happens when you do the work.
That's right.
That's
exclusive
what happens.
content.
Matt Painter, like I said, love listening to him talk. Love talking to him. He is just cares about the sport, cares about the league, cares about the kids, cares about. He's realistic about NIL, realistic about today's environment. Yesterday we were talking to him about things like that. Was that my question to him, John?
Yeah, you want me to let it roll?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's different because you have some people that are being picked in the top half, and 70 to 80% of the guys didn't play for them last year. Normally, when that's the case, they don't get picked in the top half. But these guys have all been proved, not all of them, but you got a good chunk of some of these guys that have had really good careers so far. So it's easier to gauge. It's easier to say, hey, like this guy averaged 16 points in another high major conference. He's going to be successful here. So, having that experience of success together is still important. So, like a lot of times, you see it in the NBA all the time. They take 3 or 4 guys that are all fabulous individual players, and they just don't work together, or they do work together. And then you go back to the drawing board and say, like, well, why did this work and why did this not work? That you're constantly dealing with that as a coach. And now it's come to college basketball, with the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness, and guys kind of searching things out. It's going to be interesting what we think in 3, 4, 5 years about that, and how, because the whole thing, it's hard to have chemistry within a team. So like that starts when you hear the overused word of culture. Like, how can you have culture just right away? Like, I always say, things don't work with a speech. It takes time to grow. It takes time to develop. It takes time to come together. But we've all seen some quick fixes work. They don't always work, but we've all seen that work. So, for us, we know each game that we play in our league is going to be difficult. Some of the unfamiliarity, when you lose a lot of people from your league, and then you gain a lot of really talented guys, I think gets really worked out non-conference. And then it ramps up. For us, it's a little different because we play those 2 conference games in December, so you get that taste of it. And I really don't have a great answer, for you, because I think the answer is still out there. Like, it'll be interesting to see, who's going to be there in the last week and a half of our league, because it's a bear, man. You can have a really good team. It doesn't mean you're going to be a really good road team, but the really good road team is normally the one that wins it.
That was Matt Painter from yesterday's podium session. I was thinking that was a breakout, or I also talked to him, but actually I think I'd ask him about the strength of the league, and I'm not sure. As he said, he didn't really have an answer, which was odd. He was talking about a lot of things there, but I also will hear from Brad Underwood later. I asked him the same thing, and he more directly talks about it, and truthfully, so not only I've talked about these teams that are in the top half, Dustin, and teams like Maryland, Ohio State,
yep,
are still always going to be dangerous.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just even those last 3 teams, Northwestern, Nebraska, Minnesota. You can't ever sleep on, ever. You can never sleep on any team.
Right. Yeah. There's no easy game in the Big Ten. There's no team you can chalk up an automatic win to. I mean, Indiana found that out the hard way last year against Northwestern. I mean, I know there were some outstanding circumstances that occurred, but if you're not on your A game, you can lose to anybody in this league. And so that's why I say it's going to be very interesting to see. We've got 3 second-year coaches now in the league with Mike Woodson at Indiana, Ben Johnson at Minnesota, and then Micah Shrewsbury at Penn State. I mean, I suspect that Penn State's going to be a lot better. I think Minnesota's going to be a little bit better. And then Maryland. Stephen Bardo yesterday said that was a team to keep an eye on that could be a dark horse because of Kevin Willard, because of who they have coming back. I don't know that I'm quite as high on Maryland as he is in terms of them being a dark horse Big Ten contender, but could they sneak into the NCAA tournament? Absolutely. And we've mentioned, Illinois is always going to be near the top. Michigan State, Purdue, Indiana. There's a lot of really
Illinois
good teams.
is not a sleeper.
No, not at all.
I know you're not saying that, but yeah. I'll tell you this. Illinois and Indiana are probably the 2 top favorites in my mind.
Probably.
I know Michigan is right there. Purdue's right there. How can they not be? I know they lost great players, but they still have good players. And You've got Zach Edey. You've got Mount Edey.
You know what? It would be concerning to me if I was another team in the Big Ten would be, and this is very similar to what Mike Woodson said a few weeks ago with Indiana's media days when he said, if you're afraid of expectations, don't come here. I want to get to the Final Four. I want to win Big Ten championships. Matt Painter labeled last season as a disappointment for Purdue. He said that their talent outweighed their production. He thought that they could win the Big Ten tournament, and get to the Final Four, and they did none of those things. So that's kind of the sense that I got with Mike Woodson too. Like those two coaches are going to be on a mission now because they think they fell a little bit short. So they took this offseason very, very, very seriously. It would be so fun for maybe not for other Big Ten fans, but for the state of Indiana if it came down to Indiana and Purdue. I think that's possible. I do think Illinois is going to be a player. It's just going to be an interesting season because there's so many unknowns heading into this year.
That word has been used and used and used by so many people.
Yeah.
Because for one thing, Indiana's being made a favorite. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but we'll take Indiana as an example. They're being made a favorite by a lot of people, and then you have people turn around and say, but yet they're pretty much the same team that was last year that did what they did. Well, but they're not. They're pretty much, but not the same team.
Right.
What happens if you don't put an egg in your cake batter? It's not going to. It might be
like
half a cake, or
right.
It's not going to be. It's not going to work. It's not going to be. You're not getting the end result. You're not getting what you wanted, just because you didn't have that one ingredient.
Right.
Ingredients are important, man. You have to have all the ingredients to make the finished product, and they just didn't have all those ingredients. Do they now? They're damn sure closer, but I think that they do. I think Jalen Hutch-Fino and Malik Renault and Tamar Bates and those guys are going to make a difference. So we've got lots more coming up here from the Target Center. We're live and in Minneapolis from 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days, brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If you're in the home for a market in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. And if you're in the southern Indiana, Louisville area, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott counties, all down through that area, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services have served that community for 3 decades. No one will get you into the home you want more so than Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda. God dang it, I wish there was a way that I
so,
could hear.
Can you hear me?
And, yeah, I can hear you. I just wish that I could do a microphone, and if he comes in here.
So, I mean, I was planning on doing Woodson here. Do you want to not do Woodson here?
No, we can do Woodson here, but if Robbie Hummel walks up, God damn it,
I mean, it's only a 10-minute interview. You can, if he's willing to wait, but I know he might not be able to, I guess. But because if we're in the middle of the Woodson segment, you can't really stop it. You know what I mean?
I know. Yes, I know. What time is it?
It is 9:38.
Yeah, go ahead, run it.
Okay. As soon as we're about to come back from break, I'm going to put you and Dustin on. Well, Dustin's already muted himself, but I'll put you on mute.
Now, wait a minute. How are you going to do this? Are you just not going to play this like it?
I'm playing it full. The way I've done this before, Jim. We've done this before.
I know that, but you're not. You're just inserting it like it's
part of the show. Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's what I'm make sure.
Yeah, I'm playing the full thing.
And then I gave a closeout as well, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah, I checked but you have an intro and an outro for the segment, so that's good.
How are you? Oh man, it's another great show. If I could get Hummel on here, that would be.
If you see him, be like, "Hey, we'll be ready in 10 minutes at 9:50 or whatever."
Yeah. So here, have a seat in the green room. Can I get you a water or something? And then that Brad.
We'll have to work on that after we get through this part.
Yeah, that's on. That's on. That's up on YouTube, I believe.
Yes, it is on your YouTube. Yes. All right, here we go. I'm gonna put you on mute, Jim. And Dustin, don't do the same for you.
980961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Big Ten Basketball Media Days 2022 at the Target Center in Minneapolis. And I'm very, very fortunate to be joined with Indiana head basketball coach Mike Woodson. Coach, last year we did this, and it was your first season. A lot of unknowns for you to get through, dealing with the college basketball for the first time and all that goes with that. You guys come back this year, and now you're looked at as one of the leaders to win the league.
Well, they won't call me a rookie anymore amongst my staff.
I don't know how anyone ever calls you a rookie.
Well, they did, which was okay. But it is nice to be mentioned amongst the Big Ten. At the end of the day, we still got to go play the game and go through the grueling schedule of the Big Ten. But, the major reason they're talking about it is because of Trace Jackson Davis coming back, which was the major piece to our puzzle. I don't know what I would have done without him, so it's good to have him back.
And this league is really strong. It's always strong. You played in it, but man, the top half of these teams, whether it's because of returning players like Trace and Race, or Illinois has an influx of transfers, just a lot of good plays, but it has to be the best having a guy that was already here, that has been in your system, that you're familiar with, like Trace and Race and Xavier and those guys who are returning, who are your upper class leaders. That's got to make you feel pretty good going into the season.
Well, it makes a difference because it was the first time any of those guys tasted a little success last season. None of those guys had ever been in the big dance. And, I could see the smile and the competitiveness they had once they got into it. And I can't help it think it will be a nice carryover into this season because they are hungry to do better, to go further, to win a Big Ten title. So it's going to be my job, my staff's job to keep them playing at a high level. Hopefully we can stay away from injuries and see where we are once we jump it up.
And I know everyone, including yourself, wants to win a Big Ten national championship. Trace, you could it's palpable that he really wants that for Indiana. It seems you could see and feel that he really wants to leave a legacy. We talked about that before. You have to win something to do that.
Well, that's the only thing that's left from a statistical standpoint. He's done pretty much everything he's supposed to do, and he'll add to that this season. But that's the only thing left, man. If you come into the Big Ten or you come play for Indiana and you're not thinking winning a Big Ten title, then you need to go somewhere else. That's what you play for. That's what I came back for. And a national title. Everybody can't win them. If they were, it would make this game so much easier, but that ain't the case. So his legacy would be winning a Big Ten title and a national title. That's what he's back here for. He's itching at the bit to try to get that done, and I got to help him try to accomplish that because that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
And you are all leaning on some of the new guys. Jalen Hood-Schifino, a lot of talk about him. I went down and saw him play. He just plays at a higher level than what he seems like at his age. Trey said the same thing. He said he seems like he's a junior, and his play seems like that. That has to be a great bit of relief to have someone like that on the floor.
Well, again, freshmen are freshmen. Once in a while you get a unique freshman that just knocks it out of the park. But most freshmen, there's a learning curve. And, I've been preaching into these 4 freshmen. Somehow I got to speed the process up for you guys. Because if we're talking about winning at a high level, they got to be a big part of it. So, I'm pushing them just as hard as I'm pushing the veteran guys because we're going to need them.
And last year was a winning season. And when I was talking to Trace and Race, there were just so many games that you could look at that you could point out where the game was lost. And learning how to win is one of the things that it seems like this group has to finalize to reach that greatness.
Well, the first step is being competitive. And we were that last year. That's why we were in every game. Second step was building a defensive foundation. And we did that last year. And it put us in position to be in every ball game. And that won't be any differently than this season, going into this season, because defensively we have to make a statement. I mean, it's like the staple, it's the signature of who you are as a ball club. I've seen it done at the highest level from a defensive standpoint, and it won an NBA title. So I know defense wins, and it doesn't hurt. You can add some offense to that, then you become a hell of a combination then.
You played for a guy who is pretty much defense. His world was based around that. Were you surprised on how well the team was able to, how good they were defensively last year? In your first season, in their first season, they were one of the top defensive teams in the league.
I was very surprised because of where we started. And then as we started to go through the season, you can see it. But a lot of that is just playing hard, man. I mean, being more competitive than your opponent. And when you do that, you give yourself a chance to win. And yes, we lost a lot of close games where we held leads that we couldn't finish. But, we'll get over that hurdle. That's my job to get us over that hurdle and get us over the top.
With the expectations and the talk of a Big Ten championship, how does the team react to that mentally? They have to take that in and not let it, not get big-headed and forge a path towards that goal. And how are they going to? Last year they were just learning; everybody was learning together. But now you're trying to find a way to forge toward a championship. How do they learn to do that?
Work. You take each practice and each game. You take it one at a time, man. Right now it's practice, and you got to get better every day. When we have bad practices, I'm the first to let them know about it. I'm not happy about that because you don't want to ever develop bad habits. And so our practices have been very intense. A lot of running, a lot of teaching. It's the little things that win basketball games. They just got to be pushed in the right direction, and that's my job to do it.
The schedule really ramped up this year. You've got Arizona. You're going to Kansas. North Carolina comes in, and Xavier, all preseason. That's before the gauntlet of the Big Ten. But that's the kind of schedule Indiana used to play anyway that you were accustomed to playing, and they've gotten back to that.
It's okay. It's competition, man. It's great for college basketball. If you're scared of it, then you shouldn't be playing. So I'm just looking forward to it, to see where our team is as a whole. They should be pumped up about it because from a national scene, they're going to be watched based on, what they do. And I just think it's good for our program. I do, and we'll see where we are as we come through that early part and enter into the Big Ten.
Speaking of that schedule, and there's been some people talking any word or any more or any closer to renewing the series with Kentucky.
Well, again, we're not there yet. There's been some talks, and sometimes talks can turn into something good. So we'll continue to communicate and see where it takes us.
What's the quickest you could ever imagine that happening?
Hopefully the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, Coach, I cannot thank you enough. Wish you the best of luck. As always, thank you so much, and we'll see you back in Bloomington.
Okay.
Thank you. Coach Mike Woodson, so graciously joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Greatly appreciate him. Nick and Charlie as well from the SID staff of Indiana. We can't thank them enough. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from Big Ten Basketball Media Days here at Minneapolis, and we're back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is John.
The magic of radio.
No, isn't it great?
Yeah, I got to coin that phrase. I got to coin that phrase, Mount
Yeah,
Edie.
Mount Edie, that was a good little zinger you had there, I will say.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate you very much. He said some good stuff in that. And John, make sure on the clip you got to mention the UK thing.
Oh yeah, no worries.
If you didn't mention another damn thing.
All right, I'm gonna drop out for like a second because I don't want this to bleed through while I'm actually. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. I'll be right.
Okay.
All right, I'm back. All right. So we're back on schedule now. So you'll go till 10:10 here, and somewhere in the middle, I'll have the Brad Underwood thing. Just give me a couple minutes to get that set up correctly, and I'll just text you when I have it. And if at any point you get Robbie Hummel, you can just plop right down.
Yep.
So you're a good broadcaster when the fans of your rival team like you. I'm referring to Indiana. I feel like a lot of Indiana fans like Robbie Hummel as an announcer.
He and Jason Benetti.
And here I thought he was talking about me.
I thought that's where he was going to be honest.
We were talking about Robbie Hummel. So I thought
we were.
All right, here we go.
Number of memberships available, so go to eaglepoint.com right now and get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you live from here in Minneapolis at the Target Center, site of the 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days. Been a great one so far. Great interview with Mike Woodson. Very, very fortunate for him sitting down with us each year here. He doesn't do many one-on-one interviews, and we're very lucky to be one of the very, very few. I don't know if anyone really gets him one-on-one, besides maybe network during a game.
Other than you.
So very thankful. Grateful to JD, the SID at Indiana. I hope you're feeling much better. Charlie as well, and Nick. Those guys were very helpful as well, the entire IU staff. Yesterday, I spoke to Terry Moore yesterday. Grace Berger was here. Mackenzie Holmes were here. It's so funny. Grace Berger is – it's not that she doesn't like doing this sort of things. You can tell she is very comfortable not doing it. She's just an unbelievable, humble person because she's so damn good. I mean, I even asked – I put Terry Moore on the spot, and I should have had that one pulled up, but I just asked her point blank. I said, "Hey, I know there's been in the last 6 years, there's been a run of great players. You know, you got Tyra Buss and gosh dang it, the girls she played with, daggone it, I can't believe I'm mind blowing on that one. But anyway, and then of course Alexa Goube, who just left, Allie Patberg, Cardano Hillary left last year, but Grace Berger is going to play pro ball. Allie Patberg could have played pro ball, but I think Grace Berger, I don't know if she has a chance to play in the WNBA, but very possibly. And
sure, it's always
complete basketball player.
It's always tougher to gauge the WNBA because there's fewer teams, so you never quite know. But she's definitely got talent.
The great ones stay; they don't go anywhere.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, how long was Sue Bird in there? I mean, since Larry Bird?
I was going to say it felt like 25 years, didn't it?
Yeah, so, I mean, and she's just not. Is she in her 40s?
I you know what? I don't know. I'm going to hit the Google machine here and see what we got on that because I do not know.
And she's ending her career.
She's 41,
playing as well. I think that she ever has. So there's that.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, there were some players. Lisa Leslie played for a long time. I mean, once you get in there, Katie Douglas, I believe she was with the Indiana Fever for a while. She played at Purdue. Most of the women I know that played were on the Fever, but I mean, once you get in there, I mean they have a long career, and you know we'll see what happens. But you're right, they have a long career. There aren't as many teams, so we'll see. But she's definitely got the talent, and sometimes playing overseas, they can make a lot of money there, and sometimes they get more money playing overseas than they do in the WNBA. That's just how it goes, unfortunately.
Well, that's one reason why Brittany Griner is in the situation she's in right now. Mr. Bardo, how are you, sir? Because she was going to Russia to make that money, and unfortunately, she forgot that she had that little extra relaxer with her. Anyway, I digress. But no, someone asked on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, what years did I go down? Was I there when Woody played? I was not. Shockingly, Woody is older than me. That's why I do radio. I have a face for radio and a voice for newspapers. So but the YouTube thing kind of ruins that face part, huh? Well, no, I was there in the Pat Graham, Todd Leary, Calbert Cheney era.
Still pretty good basketball.
Well, but actually not to the end of it. At the start of it. I was there at the start of it.
Okay.
But it was great basketball. Are you kidding me? There should have probably been at least one national title easily. The 92 team, it's just, it's hard to talk about. And that's not because I wasn't doing media then, so I can be a fan. See, there's certain times in life where I was able to be a fan.
Yep.
And
it's glorious.
but it is because you just don't have. But then when you're back to work, it's like, and it's. I don't know if people are, but I can compartmentalize it easily. It's just an easy thing for me to do. But
you're not the only one.
To start, but it is now. It's just like I just put up a wall and I think I just rolled it myself.
Well, I used to be able to. I told people when I got into media, at first it's very difficult that first year. Then after that, you just get used. You just get used to it, and you don't really care about the results anymore because you've got a job to do. So it's very easy to separate yourself from fandom once you're diving into it. And then, this is why I would never think to cover the Pacers. Not that I would ever get asked, but cover the Pacers for a legitimate news source, because I would not be able to contain hide my fandom, I should say, for that. So some things it's difficult, but for other things, once you get in it, it's easy to do, especially when you've been in it as long as even just me for 8-10 years.
Well, the odd thing, I remember being real young and I was working in this field as an intern, and then actually was at an actual job at WLKY in Louisville at the CBS station in the sports department. I went there as a summer intern, but ended up 2 months into that, applied for an on-air job that they had open and got it. But then I was able to start going to games. I didn't get to cover games in school. I did it differently. The IU did not have the media school then like they do now, which is kind of funny because all of us from the old days, it's like we're not a part of the IU of today, the IU, all the media school and all those. But anyway, I remember then Media Row was much different. It was on the floor where it should be. It was right in the middle, 3 or 4 rows. And I remember just the electricity is all around you. There's Indiana at night, and there's whomever, whether it's Purdue or right across from you, and you get to feel all that electricity. And that's when I learned. That's how and where I learned to just block it out, compartmentalize it. And I was like, wow, when I was able to do it, I was like, do it there, you can do it anywhere. So
exactly.
There's that. I think it's time for a break.
It's time to hear from Brad Underwood.
Oh, perfect. Yes, absolutely. Illinois coach Brad Underwood, who I truly believe Illinois, they may be the favorite. See, the thing is, they reloaded. They hit the transfer portal and hit it well. And so they're just a little more unknown than Indiana, because we know what Indiana has coming back. We know what they've added, but what they had coming back was really strong. Illinois is quietly, but I think they're a sleeper. But anyway, I asked Coach Underwood about the strength of the league, whether I said Indiana, whether it's Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, or Michigan, and then here's what Coach had to say.
I know this. I look at the job Micah did at Penn State coaching, and the players he's got back, they're going to be very good. Here at Minnesota, my goodness, they're going to be improved and they're going to be better. Chris is one of the best coaches in the league at Northwestern. You look at Fred's run at the end of the season last year, will be something he can build off of. So I think it's teams that maybe have been toward the lower end are making big jumps, and I think that you've got obviously a stacked team in Indiana. You've got Zach Edey back at Purdue. You've got Hunter back at Michigan. You've got Go Rutcliffe and their group at Rutgers, and the job Fran does, they could be at Iowa, I think, as good as anybody in the league, and nobody's talking about them. You've got Kevin at Maryland. They're going to be loaded. So I'm Jim, I'm right there with you. I think the league's loaded, and I think it's going to be better than ever.
He ain't lying. And that's something Indiana fans need to keep in mind. They are going to have to battle night in, night out against teams this year that are better. Boy, that keeps getting dark, doesn't it? Than they were last year. Iowa, we just don't know a lot about them. Yeah, they lost Keegan Murray. Guess who they have? His brother, Chris. And I don't know if it was a Matt Painter or Brad Underwood yesterday. I talked about this as well, but he said, hey, under Fran's system, Chris Murray could do the same thing that his brother did.
Stephen Bardo said that.
Was okay. I couldn't remember. So why not?
Yeah.
I don't have any reason to doubt that. Iowa's a tough playing team, but they don't play great defense, which surprises me. Fran McCaffrey is such a hard nose that you would think that he'd be more of a defensively minded coach, but it's all offense, man. Get up and down the floor. They want to run you to.
They do. And then they implement that full court press, and some teams have a lot of trouble with it. So it is surprising. They've had struggles. Like they did trade offense. It's going to be interesting because they probably don't have the same offensive firepower this year as they've had the past, 3+ years. So it'll be interesting to see if they put a heavier emphasis on defense this year because Jordan Bohannon didn't play great defense. Luka Garza didn't play great defense. Luka he played okay. He just wasn't very quick. So it's going to be interesting. I think that Iowa's going to have to play better defense to be a contender this year. So it's going to be very interesting. I just don't think they have the same offensive firepower that they had last year or the past 3 years, really.
5 lefts. You are exactly correct. I love that. It says Brad Underwood has the perfect face to play the antagonizing coach of the rival team in any movie, in any game. He does. He's got that always looks pissed off. Now, but Fran McCaffrey, nobody can go off like Fran McCaffrey is. And I still disagree about the Fran Con numbers.
Why? What do you mean?
They're in reverse to me. Which one is the worst?
The worst would be DEFCON 1.
FranCon.
Well, FranCon. But they're supposed to.
To me, that would be reversed.
It's the opposite of what.
Higher.
It's the opposite of what you think. It's
yes.
It's the opposite of what you think it is. I learned that the hard way.
Makes sense. I agree. It's opposite of what makes sense, though. Why? It should be the other way.
Right. Yes. DEFCON 5 is least severe, so FranCon 5 would be the least severe. 1 would be the I'm getting thrown out of the game type of level, I guess.
Yes, I get it. But if we're talking about a hurricane, what's a Cat 1 versus a Cat 5?
Very, very good point. I don't
Tornado.
know.
F1, F5.
Right. Good point.
You know why? Because it makes sense.
Exactly.
So whoever started that is wrong, and we need to change it, just make it our own.
Yep, I agree.
And whenever someone comments and says, you're wrong.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, John.
Yes.
I don't have a thought. I'm just here to let you know, and that it is actually time for break whenever you're ready.
Well, that's perfect. And then let's see. Do we have any more clips that we're going to play in the next segment?
No, we do not.
We'll discuss that in the break. Yeah, we do. But we'll be back with more. We're here at Live, the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for the 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days. This is day 2, and Indiana was yesterday. Purdue was yesterday. Today looks like right now Nebraska's coach is up on the podium speaking to the peeps. And we're back with more. Brought to you by Cabello from the Wow Club. Don't forget to go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store, sign up, start earning Wow rewards today. And you can join us at BB's on Friday. It's live. Cabello, located on the north end of the square in Bloomington, the former Grazie location. Incredible. You can taste the traditions of Southern Italy right here in Southern Indiana. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're visiting...
Can't find shit. Boy, I got too much stuff. There it is. Hey, John, Mike Woodson on not the interview I did, but the breakout session. That's also all exclusive stuff because we recorded that. But I think it's at the very end. I can actually play this. It just wouldn't have the video.
You can use it from there if you want to.
Freshman, much prop anyways, let alone these rookies when I was getting them in the NBA. But
make sure it's close to your
you
laptop.
got to earn your way. And he's starting to grow from the time he started three months ago when they came up for summer play to where he is now. He's starting to figure out some things.
Well, that's me asking about Malik Renault.
Tiny that can really trip a young man or girl up. It doesn't matter. I see it every day. You read about it, you hear about it.
And there's so many good clips in there that we can use for the next
mentor, coach, be a father
2 weeks,
figure.
John.
There's a lot of things that come with being a coach, man.
Because all that stuff's exclusive to us.
I can't believe nobody else is there. That, especially just because it's basketball media days. That's Indiana's bread and butter, and you only have one outlet there. That just shows how bad the Minneapolis situation is.
You know, he's picked up 23.
Everybody has their own media day.
Just got to get him to take it a little more serious.
I mean, yeah, that's what everything's going to. Then what is the point?
That's what I'm saying.
It's not like they have anything else to ask him. Like that's worth traveling to Minnesota for.
Right.
All right, I'll just play it from here.
Yeah, that's fine. Just find wherever you want. We're coming back in 15.
Free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Target Center here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as we are on the road for the 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days, Day 2, as we're wrapping things up. Ohio State, Michigan State, Michigan here today, Penn State probably. I'm trying to remember who all was not here yesterday. We were able, since we were the only IU media here, myself and Keegan Nicholson from thehoosier.com, we are able to get a bunch of exclusive content for you. Of course, I had the interview with Mike Woodson earlier, but also in the breakout session, which is great because you have different people asking questions. But this is one I asked in regards to Malik Renault, especially on the heels now that, and I didn't mention Arrington Page because you can't mention recruits, but with Arrington Page, Dustin, committing to USC, that's kind of the third big recruit that Indiana lost in a row.
Yep. Some people thought they might get all three.
I shouldn't say lost. You know what? I did. Well, I said it was possible. I said it was possible.
Yeah,
possible.
that's true. No, that's true. That's true.
It's absolutely
I think.
But what I didn't realize was that, first of all, I didn't realize the home ties of those two guards.
Yeah, that did make a huge difference.
Well, I think we ended up selling it because they're killing it. Now, Arrington Page, I thought he may end up there too, actually, to be honest with you. But USC, they're wanting to make a splash. They're joining the Big Ten. They know what they're getting into. And so, but that's a big win for them.
It's a big win for them. I think that these are significant blows to Indiana. Not to say that you need to hit the panic button, but I think everybody thought Arrington Page was going to be almost a foregone conclusion that he was coming to Indiana. I thought that one of the two guards, whoever did, I thought they would get one of the two guards to commit. I thought two was probably out of the question because of the position, because of how Indiana played, because of who was on the roster. I didn't think getting both those guards was in play, but I did think 2 out of the 3 was possible. So to get none of them, big disappointment for Indiana. But it goes on. Recruiting's not picking.
Absolutely not. I'm see Robbie Hummel over in the wings. He may be heading this way, so that would be kind of cool to finish out with him. So I'm going to hold off on Mike Woodson as he's heading this way. So I'll wait till he sits down. And hey, Robbie, how are you, man?
How are you doing?
Sure. Yeah. Jump in with us. Perfect. Okay. Robbie Hummel from BTN, former Purdue Boilermaker. I would actually enjoy talking to Matt yesterday. He's one of my favorites to talk to. He's just always has his finger on the pulse of the kids in the league. Totally. He's you can tell that he cares about the kids, the league. Yeah, absolutely. That he's a very unselfish, seemingly to me, coach.
Well, I think he has the perspective of a student athlete because he was one. He played at Purdue and has been the coach there for a long time. So I think he's got a really good feel. And on top of that, I think he's really comfortable in his own skin. So he's okay with saying what he feels. And I think he's got really good perspective on all things college sports. I think he wants what's best for the student athlete. He's all for NIL. I think he's had some really good opinions on the transfer stuff with the transfer portal. That unfortunately maybe weren't put to use because we kind of have what we have now. But I think he on the issues of the game, he is really, really good to talk to.
As mentioned earlier in the show, it's funny. I said, I don't know Matt personally. I've been around him a lot, but I know Jeff Brom. I'm from Southern Indiana, so I knew him from Louisville, like him. So there's that IU. Can't have that going. But I bring that up because so many IU fans enjoy your coverage of games, which is funny because normally it'd be, these socks from Purdue.
The rivalry runs
it's
deep.
You're not allowing that to happen, man.
Well,
and congratulations on the game. You do a tremendous job.
Thank you very much. I just think that when I call games, my goal is to enhance the game for the viewer. And that's really what I'm trying to do going in. And whether it's Indiana or Purdue or Illinois or the Valpo Crusader, not the Crusaders, whatever they are now. That's another story.
Your Valpo days are over,
I
my friend.
I know. I was a ball boy for Homer Drew back in the day. So,
really?
Yeah,
Seriously?
Yeah. I was
ball boy for Homer Drew.
Yeah,
wow.
So that was like a little bit post Bryce. So right after he hit the shot, I was a ball boy for 4 or 5 years. But whoever I'm calling the game for, I'm trying to do the best job I can. And I think, I have a goal as a commentator for my job to keep moving up the ladder and trying to get better and better games. And honestly, I just want to see good basketball. And on top of that, you develop relationships with not only the coaches but the players. Armand Hill was a guy that came in and he's on Indiana's staff now, and he really helped us with some 3-3 stuff when I was playing a couple years ago. So I know him decently well, and I think the world of the guy, So I think when you develop those relationships, when I was playing at Purdue, we wanted to kill Indiana. And it's the same for the Indiana players feeling towards Purdue. But I think at the end of the day, I want to see good basketball, and I want to see good games, and I think Indiana's going to be a big part of that this year.
Dustin, you'll have to relay your questions through me, but so if you have one, because he can't hear you. You have a question, I'm sure. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com.
Well, I mean, I guess my question would be, you know, when you started this, when he started this endeavor, did he ever envision having this type of popularity? I mean, he and Jason Benetti are considered two of the best, or the best combination in college basketball right now. I mean, is that something he would have envisioned?
And before I said BTN, you moved on to ESPN. Are you both?
I do both, yeah. So
Okay.
I'll do 30 games for Big Ten Network, and I'll do 30 games for ESPN.
Now with that split, how's that going to work out?
You know,
for you?
it's crazy. I've done that my entire career. So I now my numbers were lower. I think my first year I did 20 games at ESPN, and I did 15 at BTN. It's just kind of grown. And last year
they want you, man.
Well, last year it was a lot. I did 85 games between the NCAA tournament with Western One and the Big Ten Network and ESPN. But I'm thankful that they want me to do the games.
What happens when the ESPN starts pulling you more, man?
You know what? They
Fox has got to get in on the action. What's Fox waiting on?
I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Fox, what are you waiting on?
But the thing is that they both, Big Ten Network and ESPN, have really worked well together. I'll give them a lot of credit. They've kind of seen each other's schedules, and we've balanced it out, and they've been really good to work with.
How fun is it for you to do this as a career? Firstly, not being that far removed from playing. Jordan Hulls just came to Indiana as a coach.
I saw that.
So, you know, literally almost walked off the court.
Right.
I got on a plane and came and started this job.
Yep.
But it has to be a blast for you to do this as a job.
Yeah, and I think every player deep down that played professionally has a little bit of a fear of the 9 to 5 because you've never done it, right? So
Don't like it.
I think trying to avoid that, and you know, look, it's a job. The travel can be a job, but when you're at the game, you're calling a game, and you're at Assembly Hall or you're at Mackey Arena or the President Center or wherever in this league, it's not a job. You know, you're very fortunate to get to do that and see high level basketball. So I'm incredibly thankful they let me do it, and I hope they'll let me do it for the next 30 years because I'd love to do it.
Dustin asked earlier, did you expect in your wildest imaginations when you started the popularity you have, the success you've had, and you said more games keep coming, and it just keeps going. When you first started, I'm sure it was like, ooh.
My first game, I did it was Purdue and somebody not very good. I should remember who it was, but I don't. And at halftime, I thought, I want to quit. I hate this. I'm saying things that I'm like, doesn't make sense. That's not what I wanted to say. You know, my heart felt like it was beating at 130 beats a minute. I mean, it was just like, it was overwhelming. And the second half went better, and my second game was pretty good. And actually, my third game of my broadcasting career was with ESPN in the Bahamas with Carl Ravitch, Purdue, Tennessee. So it was like, lucky I had those first two games to kind of work the kinks out of the armor there, because it was like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. But I think it all comes with repetition. The more you do it, the more comfortable you are. And it's been a really fun couple-year journey to now, you know, you're starting to work with guys like, you know, Brandon Gaudin does NFL games. He does the voice of Madden. Kevin Cougar's doing NFL games. Jason Benetti is now at Fox, and he's as good as anybody. So I just think I've been really fortunate to work with play-by-play guys who are excellent and do a really good job of making, you know, me look good. But it's an awesome job. I'm just so thankful I get to do it.
Play-by-play guys are so crucial to setting up what you're doing and staying out of the way of what you're trying to do, because their job is to call the game. Your job is to analyze and point things out that the viewers don't see, don't understand, or whatever the case may be. And relationships between guys. Dustin mentioned Jason Benetti, and one of the great combinations. But that has to be so important, knowing you're with someone who you have a great relationship.
Yeah, well, it's a team effort. You know, it's not just the play-by-play guy and the analyst. You've got a whole truck doing the game, whether it's the graphics guys, the producers, the directors.
I was working the truck, baby.
Yeah, so you know all about it. But I think that's what's cool about doing TV too, is that it does have a team aspect, and when you play basketball, it's a team sport. So there's some really cool aspects there. But you're playing off your play-by-play guy. They have to do a good job of listening to the analyst, and the analyst has to do a good job of listening to their play-by-play guy. I think that there's some broadcasts you watch, and you're like, man, these guys are kind of repeating each other, and they're not necessarily listening to each other. They're just kind of coexisting. And I think the really good crews, whether it's football, basketball, whatever sport, they're excellent at listening, and they do a great job of playing off one another.
And the preparation that goes into each game, because each game is different. The players may be the same the next time, but they've played X amount of games since then. The stats have changed. How much preparation? That is not fun, but
but again, you're watching basketball, so it could be worse. I keep a notebook on every team I see. The top 10 players that would be on the scouting report, and Synergy is an incredible tool. It really is. And I'm fortunate that I have been able to use that. But I just keep this notebook of every player, what they like to do. And if those guys maybe throughout the season, Malachi Branham's a great example. I saw Ohio State in November, December, and by the time late January came around, I had to go back and rewatch Branham's clips and be like, well, he's now doing this, this, and this. And early in the season, he wasn't doing any of that. But for the most part, you see a team once, I can get a pretty good feel, I think, for what guys want to really do, because you've got all these clips loaded up where you can watch 50 clips of Trace Jackson-Davis or Race Thompson. And for college players, I think if you watch enough clips, you can get a pretty good idea of what they want to do. Pro-wise, the skill level is different. You might need to go back and watch more or change your opinion of that. But for the college game, that's pretty good. And then I'll watch the team's last game. And if the two teams that are playing have already played once, it's important to, I think, go back and watch that game. See how they're guarding pick and roll, how they guard the post, did they trap, did they stunt, and I just think that adds value to the broadcast.
Speaking of Trace Jackson-Davis, Indiana, Hunter Dickinson, Michigan, Purdue, even though they haven't been mentioned much, they got, I coined a new phrase this morning, they have Mount Edie.
And a really good front court at that.
And yesterday someone asked Mike Woodson when there were breakout sessions, I was sitting there, who's the toughest player in the league? They get to prepare for. He goes, that big guy at Purdue. And they said, why? He's 20 foot tall.
He's massive.
He said he's 20 foot tall.
We did something with him for ESPN yesterday, and actually he had to sit because the mic wouldn't go high enough. He's 7'4". I mean, I told you guys earlier, I walked over at the breakout session just to walk over there. It was like I was going over to see Andre the Giant. Yeah, he's enormous.
But oh my God! So let's talk basketball. We only have a couple of minutes, but Indiana mentioned as a favorite. I think that's a lot because of Trace Jackson-Davis, but they have questions. Michigan definitely has questions.
Everybody has questions.
Illinois has questions because they brought in a lot of transfers, but man, don't sleep on them. Sure. Purdue is not getting mentioned much, but I'm like, why? Yeah, they got Mount Edie and a ton of solid players, and Michigan State too. I think there's 5 teams that
I agree
that at least belong in that conversation.
Yep, and I think you have to put Indiana at the top because of everything they return, and the Trace coming back is such a boost. But at the same time, they were a team that was on the bubble for a lot of February and made a great run, had 2 really good games at the Big Ten tournament to solidify themselves in the NCAA tournament. Shooting is the question, and I just it's so hard for me to believe that that's been the case at Indiana because I grew up in Valparaiso. I understand that in that state, my 4th grade teacher prided himself on being able to shoot.
It's blowing everyone's mind. It's down to free throws.
I know free throws and 3-point shots, but you lose Parker Stewart. He was their most consistent 3-point shooter. Who can spread the floor? I really like Xavier Johnson. I think in pick and roll, he can be a problem. He can get by people, he can get to the basket. But is that floor going to be so shrunk because guys aren't making shots? But you do know this with Indiana, they are going to guard. They were an excellent defensive team last year. The teams you mentioned, Illinois, Matt Meyer and Terrence Shannon are big-time players. They're big-time talents. The question is, how do they fit together? Can they gel them with freshmen? That team is going to look so different. And I think the way that Brad's going to coach them is going to be night and day. Because you don't have Kofi, and they have all this length. I think they might press some. I think they're going to pressure the ball like crazy, use that length. I think they'll switch a lot. But it's going to be a learning experience getting 8 new guys into that rotation. You mentioned Purdue. It starts with Edie. Their front court's really good. The questions are the back court. Who's the point guard? Is Brandon Newman a guy that can kind of get back to what he did as a freshman? Last year he fell out of the rotation and never could really find his way back. Michigan, huge question marks in the backcourt. You have Hunter Dickinson. Everybody's got questions. I think it's one of those years where you lose 3 lottery picks and 4 first-round picks. There's going to be questions, and that's kind of what we're dealing with right now in the Big Ten.
Can I believe Robbie Hummel? I cannot thank you enough,
no
man.
problem.
I greatly appreciate it. I've been wanting to have you on for so long. Like I said, you're very, very popular, and everyone loves when you're on the call, man. So thanks a lot for coming by, and I look forward to hopefully talking to you again during the season, especially when you're coming down to Bloomington.
Sounds good.
Have a good one.
Awesome.
Robbie
Thank
Hummel joining us here at the 2022 Big Ten Basketball Media Days from the Target Center. Dustin, sorry you had pretty much got cut out of that because
that's all right.
We didn't have the hearing set up. I didn't expect him to join us, but yeah, he's. Did you see? He's just easy to talk to. Great guy. You'd like to be able to dislike him because of the Purdue tape, but you can't. Just for the fun of it. But yeah, I enjoyed that very much.
That was great. Yeah, that's a great guest. He's only rising in popularity. He's going to be around in broadcasting for quite a while. 1 minute.
And what perfect timing! What a way to end the show. Tomorrow, we will hear more from Mike Woodson, actually, some exclusive stuff that you haven't heard yet, and talking about Malik Renaud. So look forward to that. You heard the great interview with him today, and even talking about the Kentucky series. So grateful to him, Bob Kravitz, and of course, Dustin Schutte and John, the producer. Without those guys, I'd have been by myself. Dustin just has a smile.
We try to make your job as easy as possible and make it better since it's not been fun at the Target Center.
Well, you guys have been great, man. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. It has made this a lot easier. And most importantly, thank you guys for joining us as always. We greatly appreciate you. If you missed any of the show, you can always go back to YouTube and catch the individual interviews. Make sure if you do that you sign up and hit the like button for us, please. And you can give me a follow on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB, as we will always bring you the complete coverage of IU athletics and more as promised. So for Dustin Schutte, John the producer, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio back in Indiana tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.